Hello and welcome once again to Spiritism, a closer look. You are on Kardec Radio. I am Luiz Lima, your host for tonight, and we got a great program for tonight. We are going to take a closer look at soul and spirit. So sometimes a little bit confusing. It's definitions and words get in the way. So we're gonna try to make it as clear as possible based on the original codification. Allan Kardec, we're going to go back here, Spirit's book. That's where the information is going to come from. So there are several questions and several things that the spirits mentioned to him. So we are going to use those to discuss the subject. Before we do that, as always, if you have any questions, any comments, any suggestions, just write to us. You have the information down on your screen. You can use email or Kardec Radio's website or our Facebook page. Okay, so soul and spirit. In order to discuss this and to develop the subject, I'm going to give you a graphic. We're going to do this in a more visual format because I think it's just easier to come up with the explanation. So let me just prepare here what I need to give you an idea. And like I said, we want to do this in graphic form because it is just easier. So here it is. I'm going to give this to you here. Okay. Soul and spirit. In order to understand what these two words are and how they are related and what they really mean for us spiritists, we have to go back to the beginning. We have to start on question number 1 on the Spirit's book, what is God, and go from there. So what we know is from God, two things emanate. That's very clear on the Spirit's book, by the way. One is the spiritual principle, and the other is the material principle. We have discussed this at length when we did the series Evolution. So tonight we're just going to do real quick just to refresh our memories because we need this for the explanation, but we are not going to spend a lot of time here. Spiritual principle is it's going to become one day, it's going to become the intelligent principle. The whole creation happens when the spiritual principle and the material principle interact. And that way, the spiritual principle keeps moving on and better and better and better until it receives a different name called intelligent principle. It receives this name when it is capable of life, sustaining life, not only the minerals or mineral kingdom. When it is able to sustain life, then we call intelligent principle. This intelligent principle is going to run through the entire plants kingdom, the entire animal kingdom, and then it's going to individualize and it's going to become what we call the spirit. So the spirit, the intelligent beings of the creation, they are individualizations of the intelligent principle. One thing that becomes important here is you see on the screen that the word spirit is in lowercase. The whole word is in lowercase because that's the way Kardec wrote in French originally. And it has a meaning. It becomes important. So spirit, all lowercase, means a generic denomination for this individualized intelligent principle. We're not pinpointing this one, that one, the third one. No, it's just a global generic word. So now we have this intelligent principle, which became spirit, and the material principle. This intelligent principle, or this spirit with a lowercase, is going to continue its evolution. It's going to continue interacting with the material principle. And the first thing it needs to do to be able to interact with matter is create what is called a perispirit. A perispirit is created from the material principle. It's very subtle type of matter, is not visible. Our five senses do not catch it, but it comes from the material principle. So now the intelligent principle has a perispirit, meaning it is now able to perform tasks in the material realm. The intelligent principle plus its perispirit is what we call spirit, capital S. It's no longer a generic, vague intelligent principle. No, it's now well defined. It's one intelligent principle with its perispirit. That is called spirit, capital S. This is introduced in the Spirit's book on question 76. As of question 76, Allan Kardec writes the word spirit every time he means this with a capital S. Okay, so now we have a spirit, and it continues to interact with the material principle. When this spirit incarnates, right, now it forms what we call the physical body, which also comes from the material principle. So now we have a spirit with a physical body, or incarnated spirit. When that is the case, what we used to call spirit is now called soul. So visually, if you look at the graphic, spirit and soul are the same thing. They mean the same thing. Visually. The difference is we will refer and use the word soul when this intelligent principle has a physical body attached to it. So it has a perispirit and a physical body. If this particular soul or intelligent principle discarnates, it goes back up one. So there is then no physical body, so we don't call soul anymore. We call spirit. This is a little bit tricky. Let me give you an example, an analogy, even if you're not a musician or you're not into music at all. But all of us, we have seen a piano before. So the piano has white keys and black keys. So let's pick up the first two notes of the standard scale, Do and Re. They are represented by letters C and D. So now we have C and D as they are both white keys. So I got C and as a white key, the next white key is D. But between them, there's a smaller in size black key. So if I want the musician to go to the piano and hit the black key between C and D, I have to tell him something. I have to give him instructions. There are two ways that I can instruct him to do this. I can say, play a C sharp, meaning one above C, or play me a D flat, meaning one below D. Whichever way I decide to tell him, the outcome is the same. We will hear exactly the same tone because the key being pressed is the same. But for him, the musician, it's not only the outcome, it's the interpretation. When I tell him C flat, C no longer exists. It has been replaced, at least in terms of perception, not that it goes away from the piano, but in terms of perception, the musician understands, oh, okay, C has been replaced with C sharp. And if I tell him, please play a D flat, he's going to say, oh, the D key has been replaced with a D flat. So D is no longer part of it. So you see, for one way of saying is C does not exist, at least for now, until the musical sheet tells you differently at a certain point. And the second type is D does not exist. Although the outcome is the same, this is similar. If you look at the graph, soul and spirit represent the same thing, represent the intelligent principle attached to its perispirit. However, if there's a physical body, it gets a different name. We call it soul. If there is no physical body, we call it spirit. I'm going to leave this image here so we can go through a few questions in the Spirit's book to match up what's being said in the Spirit's book with what we have here on the screen. So I'm going to start with question 149, when Allan Kardec asks the spirits, what does the soul become at death? Okay, so what does the soul? Let's make it easier, so I'm going to number these layers. Layer 1, layer 2, and layer 3. So the question is, when does the soul something? Soul, we are on layer 3. Okay? So here's the question. What does the soul become at death? So if there's a death, it is no longer layer 3 because there is no physical body anymore. It's going to be layer 2 now. So the question is, what happens to the soul when you move, per se, from layer 3 to layer 2? That's the question. And the answers from the spirits is, it becomes a spirit again. Very much in line with what we see here on the screen. It becomes a spirit again, meaning it jumps back to layer 2. And the answer continues. It returns to the world of spirits that it had left for a time. Meaning it was a spirit layer 2, incarnated layer 3, discarnated layer 2. And that's how evolution goes. That's how our progressive path is. We go to layer between, jumping all the time between layers 2 and 3, back and forth. So this answer, question 149, is in line with what we are displaying here. Then we're going to go to question 150b. Here's the question. How does the soul, layer 3, how does the soul preserve its individuality if it no longer has a material body? Right, so the soul preserve its individuality. How come? If there is no longer a material body. The answer from the spirits is, it still has a fluid proper to it, which it draws from its planet, Earth in our case, and which retains the appearance of its last incarnation. And the name of this thing? Perispirit. So the soul, when there's no physical, or as the question says, material body, it goes back to layer 2, right? And it preserves its perispirit in line with the graph that you see. Then we're going to go to the next question, 150C, the next one up. Doesn't the soul take anything else from this world? Anything else, meaning one thing is the perispirit. So that was taken care of in the previous question. So the question is, what else? What else goes with it to layer 2? And the answer is nothing more than its memories and desire to go to a better world. There is no mention, no word, no evidence whatsoever of anything material here. It takes its memories coming from the experience on that particular lifetime and the experiences, and that's it. And it continues. These memories are full of sweetness or bitterness, depending on how the soul has lived its earthly life. These memories are full of sweetness or bitterness, depending on how the soul, layer 3, has lived its earthly life with a physical body, layer 3. You see how the names in the words, they match up. There's no inconsistency here. Kardec is asking the same thing in two different places with two different methods and using different words, but the spirits are, their responses are consistent. Everything is making sense. There's no, oh, it's a spirit here, it's a soul there. If we start trading one for the other, it gets confused. I'm not going to say it's right or wrong, because right or wrong is a little more radical, but it gets confused. Okay, going back here to the graphic, if you look into layer 2, there's an intelligent principle and a perispirit. Nobody said that this has to be a human type intelligent principle. Animals have intelligent principle as well. So Allan Kardec is going to ask the spirits. Question 596. Since animals have an intelligence that gives them a certain freedom of action, is there in them a principle independent of matter? Is there anything that is independent of matter? Answer, yes. And it survives their body. So again, in the animals, there's a body, there's a physical body at times. At other times, no, because it's discarnated. So Kardec is going to ask about the soul, because the spirits on their answer, they came up with their body. So body is physical, it's soul. So the next question is, question 597. Is this principle, right, independent of matter, is this principle a soul similar to what to that of humans? Is that a soul like ours? That's an interesting answer. It is a soul if you'd like. It depends on the meaning you attach to the word. Because it gets confused. If you think, for example, for Catholicism, the word soul is usually referring to people who are dead. I'm not even going to say spirit. People who are dead. For us, soul does not have to do with death. It has to do with physical life. So the word itself is going to vary according to the belief system, maybe the person. So we have to be careful. And the spirits are trying to alert us for that. So the animals have a soul, if you like to call a soul, but just be sure to use the word properly. And they continue. It is much less evolved than that of humans, however. But they still have a soul. And then we're going to move on to the next question. Question 600. Since the animal's soul, layer 3, since the animal's soul survives its body, does it remain in an errant state like the human soul after death? Right? Answer, it remains in a type of errant state because it is not united to a body, but it is not an errant spirit. That's very interesting. So we understand the part that there's no physical body attached to it. Okay. but it's not an errant spirit because that's us, that's humans. And they continue the answer, explain that. The errant spirit is a being who thinks and acts of its own free will. Animals do not have that free will. We do. Very interesting. Animal spirits do not have the same faculty. That's the answer. Continuing. Self awareness is what comprises the principal attribute of the human spirit. So there's a lot of things that in definitions and things that we can understand from Spiritism that use the words soul and spirit all the time. We just have to be sure that we are using that correctly and that we understand what it means. That's why I decided to bring this thing in graphic form, like you see here again, because for me personally, it was just much easier to look at a graph and know, yeah, okay, I got the idea. Then start trying to do words here and words there and explanations and a lot of phrases and complications. I just think that was easier. So that was our attempt, let me call attempt, right, to to have a closer look at these two words and how they are related, soul and spirit. It was great to be here again with you. And once again, you have down on your screen how to get in touch with us via email, website, Facebook, or whatever, whichever you prefer. We are open for comments and questions, suggestions. Even if you want to request a topic for us to bring over here and discuss, please do. Thank you very much for participating with us tonight. And we will see you next time.